love football. I know you love baseball, and this is a job you dreamed of. So I'm very happy for you. I'm very proud of you, and I'm gonna miss you. I love you, bud. Go get him, Tigers.
Well, it's overboard, but it's greatly appreciated. This is more about, I think, Jack, Gibby, Dan, and Simo, and about this baseball team. But I'm humbled, as I've been for a long time, to get this opportunity. And I've learned so much from so many of those people, especially one of my best friends, Rob Rubik and Chris Spielman, but especially from Ken Daniels and Doc Emmerich and George Blaha and Gregory Kelser and all the great pros that we have in Detroit. We're really fortunate, and for me to get the opportunity to work with the great people of Fox Sports Detroit on a regular basis, that entire team, and I mean that, from the guys in the booth with us to the guys in the truck, I am really, really fortunate. So I'm being told to wrap it.
And you heard all the luminaries there on the first opening day of what I have to say is one of the great legends I've ever known. Matt Shepard, the hardest working man in show business. You heard all those luminaries, Ken Daniels, all the different guys give you the praise to take over for the Tigers. That must have been a pretty special day, man.
Yeah, it really was. Like I said, though, Dan and David, a little overboard, I think. It's not necessarily about the individual. It's about the team. But, I know this team only won 47 games last year, but there wasn't one day I felt like, oh, my God, here we go again. It's everything I could have expected. I think there are ways that I can get better, but to do it in my hometown, in front of friends and family, in front of the great colleagues that I've had over the years, including a guy like Dave Rieger, who I've worked with. It's been very honored. Yeah, it's been very honorable for me to be able to sit in that chair, and I don't take it for granted by any stretch.
Of course, and welcome as always, Dave Rieger. The Kingpin's always with us here in the task force, and of course, welcome in Matt Shepard. Matt, Dave Rieger has always worked very hard. He's been doing this for a long time. I've always prided myself on working hard and doing what we love. There is no one that works harder than you. And I'm not just saying that. That is what everyone says, Matt Shepard. You have 16 jobs. You're the voice of the Tigers. You've been the voice of Eastern, the voice of Michigan basketball, radio, everything. And I just want to tip. I don't have a hat on. Here's a hat for you. But to tip the hat. But you are what someone like me, because not that Dave does it because he's more, of a producer and he does some on air stuff. But someone like me that's on air, that does play-by-play, you are what I look up to and strive to be. I don't know anyone in this market that I've been alive for that's like you, Matt. I mean that.
Well, I appreciate that. I really do, Dan. But look, there's better idols out there, but like your father. But I appreciate it because my hope is. I know the thing I hope all people remember me for is like someone who tried his best. Had all his bases covered, always prepared, and was a good person. That's what I want to be. I mean, we can all have our points in time in life where we're pushed to the edge a little bit, but I'd like to be remembered as someone who is professional, somebody who cares about his friends and his colleagues like you guys, somebody who is easy to work with or enjoyable to work with. If I'm making the people who watch Tigers baseball and who I work with and my family proud, then I think I've done what I'm supposed to do.
Well, before we get to that moment that we just showed a little bit of your first opening day, and obviously we got baseball coming up to talk about in a second as well. A lot of people know your history, born and bred around here. I think you went to my alma mater, North Farmington, right?
I did. I played I played baseball, football, and basketball at North Farmington. Yep. So
there's obviously a lot of people that know your history. For those that don't, can you kind of briefly take people through how you got started? And then obviously we'll lead up to, I would say, a moment that I can only imagine maybe someday in my life having a chance to do, call professional teams baseball games on TV.
Yeah, I mean, when I was born and raised in Farmington Hills, Michigan. My mom still owns a house there, the house that I grew up in, and all my siblings except for my younger brother remain in the area. And so going to St. Fabian grade school, having my mom as a teacher in third grade, going to Dunkel Junior High School, going to North Farmington High School, playing for Ron Holland, having somebody like Ron Holland and Ralph Temby influence me so heavily in my life. To help tutor me, not just as a football player at the time, but also as a man, because I lost my dad at an early age. And then, to be able to go to Eastern Michigan, try to play some baseball, wasn't successful. It's harder. But then go to Central Michigan and have a really good, strong broadcasting school. I know so many people talk about Syracuse, and I understand why, because of the big names. But listen, Central Michigan has produced some incredible talent too. Dave Llewellyn is a Central Michigan grad, right? I mean, Terry Foster is a Central Michigan grad. Dick Enberg's the ultimate. But I mean, there's a lot of good local people who went to Central Michigan. So I wear that broadcasting degree very proudly. It means an awful lot to me. I work with a lot of chips, so that's good. And then, Dan, you go through some challenging times when you're in this business. And so when you start out making $12,000 a year, you take a job for Major League Baseball, or what you hope will end up being Major League Baseball. It's minor league baseball for $800 a month. It's very, very challenging, very difficult. I think it's fair to say that I paid my dues, but you still have to prove yourself every single day. And that's the challenge of this business. I think it's the beauty of this business. This business, what I love most about it, is it's the closest thing to the on-field performers you can get. I'm a big believer in team, okay? We're all one team. We're going to have our disagreements, but in the end, we've got to do what's best for our audience. And it's like being in a locker room, being in the television truck, being in a production meeting is about as close as you can get to being in a clubhouse of a Major League Baseball team. And I love that I have to rely on a director and a producer and a technical director and my teammate here, Kirk Gibson or Jack Morris or Dan Petrie or Craig Monroe, and rely on a stage manager, Chuck Fair, who's the best in the country, rely on audio guys who I trust implicitly. I need them and they need me. And that's the same thing of what the Tigers or any baseball or professional or college team will be. I couldn't live that dream. I couldn't be Spencer Torkelson. I couldn't be Casey Mize, right? But what I can be is a teammate that is as close to that as I possibly can get, still covering the sport I love most. And that's why I just enjoy every single day waking up and being able to go to the baseball park.
That's so beautifully said. And I wanted to put this on again. And this moment that was last year before your first opening day, and I know you called some, I believe some exhibition games on TV.
Sure.
Towards the end, what was going through your mind? I mean, obviously you're always so well prepped, so you were ready to go. But what was going through your mind and heart that day?
Well, I had called, the previous year a good 20 plus games. I had called, some preseason games like you were talking about. I can't say that I was necessarily nervous. You guys have been doing this for a long time too. When you're doing it, it's not work. It's a love. It's a passion. It's fun. You're working with people in an opportunity that you only dreamed of when you were 10 years old in your backyard and going to sleep with Ernie Harwell and Paul Carey and watching George Kell and Al Kaline and eventually Frank Beckman and just thinking to yourself, man, this is pretty awesome. But I wasn't awestruck. I wasn't nervous or anything like that. I was just excited for the moment, So I can't say that anything was specifically going through my mind where I was all jacked up and everything. I go to work every single day with a smile on my face because I'm in my town talking about my teams and covering the teams that I've always loved and the teams I've always hoped to cover. So I can't say that I was necessarily nervous, Dan, but it was last season was everything I expected it to be and then some, being able to go out to dinner in Toronto with Jack Morris and the crew and talking about what we did right and what we did wrong, sitting in my boss's office and having them say, listen, you got to be better at this and you got to be better at that. And those are the things that I relish. I mean, I want that challenge. I want them to be able to talk to me in that regard and just having that camaraderie with these guys, to think that my favorite team of all time, the 1984 Tigers, and I'm working with guys like Kirk Gibson and Jack Morris and Dan Petrie, and getting to know a guy like Alan Trammell. Guys, one of the best moments really of my broadcasting life took place. I think we were in Cleveland. There was Ron Gardenhire at his desk. I'm sitting next to Jim Leland and Alan Trammell, and Kirk Gibson's over here.
Huh.
And we're talking baseball. And then after the game, Gibby and I are walking back to the hotel with Tram, and we stopped by a restaurant for a nightcap, and we're having a beer at the bar, just talking baseball. And I'll never forget, I texted my best friend at the time, and I said, dude, you're not going to believe the day I had. And he was as happy as my father could have been looking down. All my buddies would text me on a regular basis. Dude, I can't believe you're doing what you're doing. This is so cool. So happy for you. Fire up Raiders, all that stuff. And I think by that, guys, by having that emotional attachment to this area tells me, A, this is the right thing that I'm doing, but B, that, I'm helping a lot of other people. I want to be proud of my friends. I don't care what they do. I just care that they're good men, they're good fathers, they're good husbands, and they're good pros. They feel the same way about me. It's not that I call Tigers. It's just cool for them. And to me, that means an awful lot.
Yeah, and Matt, a lot of us have lived vicariously through you. And I remember there was an article, a bunch of articles, and I remember so many people. It's such a cool thing. Because, our business is crazy, and there's a lot of egos involved. But there were so many people that were just so grateful that you got that job. And I remember doing shows at 97.1, getting texts, and the first game you did, and people were just really excited that not just the local boy did good, but that you, of all people that have worked, I think I work hard. You're like 5 times that.
No, I
don't sleep, man.
That's not true. But that's really cool to hear. But in the end, you've got to do a good job to hold on to the job. It's nice that you get the opportunity, right? People, it's nice that people appreciate your work ethic, but they got to appreciate your call too. We all work hard. Dave works hard. Dan, you work exceptionally hard. What we have to do is we have to be likable. We have to, I take this very seriously. We're being invited into somebody's home every single night. That's not an easy thing to do. No. This isn't basketball, hockey, or football. No offense to any of those. But when you do a baseball game, people are watching while they're grilling. People are watching while they're eating. People are watching while they're having a conversation back and forth. This is what baseball allows you to do. For them to invite us into their home every single night is the ultimate compliment to me and other people who do this job. And for that, I will always remember that I will never lose sight of somebody giving me that chance to be welcomed into their house and call a baseball game. I owe it to every single person who is watching us to be as prepared as possible, to be as energetic as possible, and to be as genuine as possible and create some conversation. Now, some people aren't going to like you. You know this, guys. Some people will
check my Twitter.
Yeah, they're never going to like you, and that's okay too.
It's okay.
It happens, right? I'm not calling games for them. Right. I can't. Most of those people I'm not going to win over. They probably didn't like me calling Michigan basketball. They probably didn't like me calling Lions football or Pistons or Red Wings or any of the things that I've done. And that's okay. But I'm going to strive to try and make sure that I give them a game in which they get excited, and maybe at some point they'll turn around and say, hey, you know what? The guy wasn't half bad after all.
It's beautifully said. Dave, I know, as Matt brought up earlier, you go way back with Shep.
I got to tell you, I feel outnumbered because I did not go to North Farmington. I'm a West Bloomfield graduate. Go Lakers, I guess. But a couple of hellos coming to Shep via my brother, who want me to say hi.
Oh, good. I love
Jeff. Tony Butler always has just the utmost respect for Matt Shepard and great stories of their road trips on the road.
I bet,
basketball that he likes to tell me all the time.
Yeah, and Tony's a good man. He's a good man. See, he's another one of those guys, Dave. So we're doing Michigan basketball. I did Michigan basketball 14, 15 years. Tony was by my side with a number of different analysts: Dugan Fife, Jimmy King, David Merritt, Terry Mills. Just phenomenal people, right? Tony is the best at what he does. And that's what I think is really, really important in this business, to recognize the people who are not in front of the camera, who are not doing all the things that everybody 100%. Says they want to be able to do.
100%.
People who you entrust. So if you're working this, we trust Dave implicitly. I've recommended Dave for a number of jobs, but so many people want him. Tony Butler is an engineer, right? All the people I talked about on Fox Sports Detroit, those people are not just friends of mine. They are incredible colleagues and incredible professionals who I thank God every night when I put my head down on the pillow that I get a chance to work with these people. So Dave's one of those guys. We've had great conversations, great debates.
Oh, yes.
And
we've had some great arguments back in our DFN days. Yeah.
But to be able to sit there and go, you know what? I trust Dave's going to get me on the air. That's one less thing I have to worry about.
Right.
You know what it's like, Dan, because when you call basketball, sometimes you got to engineer your own stuff. I'm not doing that stuff. Dave gets paid money to do that stuff. Why? Because he's really good at it. I'm not. We all have our strengths. The sooner we in life recognize the strengths and weaknesses, the better off we'll all be.
It's beautifully said. And I got to tell you on a personal note, when I, calling Detroit Titans basketball, when we played, Michigan and Chrysler, this is the way you are anyway. But for those who don't know, you could have been nicer to me because obviously I've been to Ann Arbor. I know Beeline. I knew a little bit. I hadn't been there in a while to call a game, but you took me around. You got me introduced me to Beeline, and it just that's why, as you think these people behind the scenes like Dave and Tony Butler and others. That's why there's a respect level for me and so many others to you, because you'll do whatever it takes to make anybody feel, respected. And if they're working hard, be part of that fray, which I think is very special, man.
Yeah, well, it's a fraternity, right, fellas? I mean, we're all appreciative of what we do. I don't care what team you're calling a game for. You're preparing. You're a pro. You deserve the same courtesy that I would expect if I went to Callahan Hall to call a game. You would do the exact same thing for me.
Of course.
I would hope, and I want to make sure that I take the time and do it for you and anybody else. I made sure anytime I was at Chrysler Center, anybody who came in, whatever you need, you let us know. If you want a tour, I'll give you one. You want to see, you want to go in to see Coach Beeline. You want to know where the meal room is. You want to know where the nearest bathroom is. I mean, that's what a host is supposed to do. If I had you guys over to my house, I would make sure you were comfortable. I want to make sure people are comfortable. So I do the same thing in the broadcast booth at Comerica Park. I recognize that most of those guys have already been there, but if there's anything they need, I want them to know we're here to help because I want them to be successful. I would hope they'd feel the same about me.
Wow, that's that's why you're the consummate professional. That's why I love you. Let's talk some baseball though. Now there's a lot of things I want to ask you about this. And Dave, by the way, has a great Dan Leach one-on-one starring Matt Shepard prepared for you. 5 questions. I have no idea what they are. So we'll get to that in a minute and it'll be a lot of fun. But let's talk about this restart. And obviously, as you see all these people commenting in and missing you and missing you on TV and all the stuff, we want to get sports going again. But before we even get into the schedule that was just announced, the Tigers, as we know, July 24th at Cincy, 2 exhibitions before that on the 21st and 22nd. How are you feeling about this MLB restart, the 60 games? Obviously, COVID is not going away. A lot of teams have had a lot of positive tests. Is there? You're a father of 4. You've got a great wife. Is there concern at all on your part? Will you be traveling with the team?
Well, I don't know about the traveling yet. I mean, that is something that still is yet to be decided by my bosses at Fox Sports Detroit in their conversation with Major League Baseball. That's above my pay grade. Am I nervous about where I go? No, I'm not. I'm not. I would stay in a hotel tomorrow. I'd jump on a plane tomorrow. I am not worried about it, but I understand why some people are. I'm not passing judgment on anybody who is concerned and chooses not to play or doesn't feel comfortable traveling. That's your prerogative. That's a personal decision. I wonder how many people actually want it to come back. It seems like there are more people writing about and talking about that there's no way we should be coming back rather than finding a way to come back. I've always been a person, instead of saying I can't do that, I'm looking for a way how I can do that. And my hope was that baseball was looking for that same way. Did it take a little longer than I had wanted? Absolutely. However, I do believe it's important for us to try and get some type of diversion, if you will. Some people call it normalcy. You can use whatever word you want. But we are so consumed by COVID and news and the negativity that is associated with it. I feel like our self-esteem is almost falling and letting us down and letting other people down. I try to be as positive a person as I possibly can. I'm going to do my very best to try and concentrate on getting baseball back and being hopeful that it will be back. I'm hoping more people take that route. We'll see what happens with it. But as of right now, I'm excited to call 60 games on Fox Sports Detroit.
Yeah, it's going to be second. Here is the schedule. People haven't seen it. Just released a couple hours ago. Cincy, and then of course Kansas City in Detroit. Some more Cincy in August. People can check that schedule out. It's all over the place right now. So, Matt, I'm really excited because, as you said, we need that diversion. We need to kind of get back, and obviously, hopefully, this all does happen, and there's no issues because there's players that are obviously opting out. David Price and some others, and then that's that. I get that.
That's okay.
It's okay, and they have every right to do that. And they're doing it for whatever reasons.
Yeah, Dan, it doesn't mean they don't want to win. It doesn't mean that they don't want to play. They just don't feel comfortable. And I'm sure there's a lot of guys who right now are playing who feel the same way until you actually get going. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I'm a creature of habit. You know, I'm not a risk taker. I like things in order. I like doing things the same way, all that stuff, right? This is upsetting the proverbial personal apple cart, isn't it? This forces us to do something different. And because of that, it requires some change. It requires some getting used to. And not all of us are ready for that. But you got to be open-minded to it as well. As far as I'm concerned, as long as we're responsible, as long as we take care of what we're supposed to do, then we shouldn't have much of a concern. And I hope most smart people are doing just that. Now, I've been chastised a little bit on social media because I've gone and spent some time with firefighters and police officers, giving them meals, and I've taken pictures without my mask, and people have complained about it. I do wear my mask every single time. I just at times had taken my mask off to take a picture or two.
Right. Me too.
You know, I mean, because it was something I was hoping to tweet out and give love to the DPD, who I have great respect for, and the Detroit firefighters. But overall, I'm being very responsible, wearing the mask, trying to keep the social distancing, and I hope most people are as well.
Yeah, and I was looking at your tweets from earlier today. You know, Engine 6, Detroit Fire. You're doing exactly what people like us should be doing. It's spreading the love, which some people, they can never. Dave knows this too. We've talked about it a lot on this show. Certain people will just try to find anything wrong. And that's, all you can do is pray for those people. Most people know what you're doing, what I'm doing, what Dave's doing, what people that care and trying to make, things move forward in a good way are doing is trying to do the right thing.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. I mean, there's a lot of things that bring me joy about my family and my children. There's nothing I'd rather do than watch my children play sports. But to be able to see the smiling faces of those brave men and women, those heroes who don't know, when they walk out the door first thing in the morning, they don't know if they're coming back. To see the faces and the smiles and the love that they give us when we just bring them a lunch, for crying out loud, or bring them a dinner, makes it worth it. I get emotional about it because they don't feel like they're doing anything special. And I call them heroes. And I think that's exactly who they are. And my hope is that in the future, we can make it even bigger and better for all those people who are helping our communities out there.
Amen to that, man. We need more of that. We need more love, not hate these days. And, on the good side of this, to piggyback on what John McNamara just messaged, this season, and the Tigers, we know, are, I don't know if you know this, Matt, 750 to 1 to win the World Series. No surprise. Their win total 21.5. But guess what?
Put some money down, Dan. Come on.
Yeah, the Squatch is actually, I'll put it on the credit card.
Calling you. Come on.
I'm out of cash. But Matt, we've got a 60-game season.
Yeah.
We've got young, and I want to get your thoughts on when we see the Mises and some of the other young guys in a second. But who knows? Think about the Rockies. Did they start like 20 and 40 something? Ended up winning their division years back, whatever that was.
Well, look at Washington a year ago.
Right.
They wouldn't have made the playoffs after 60 games. They were 500 after 82 games. So, look, this is the common theme, right? Anything can happen. Absolutely. What do you have to have? You got to have some depth in pitching, and Detroit, especially with Michael Fulmer's back, guys, he looks phenomenal, man. I wish I had that physique. He looks fantastic now. Anything can happen. And remember, Matthew Boyd started out first half of the season. He was a legitimate. I mean, he was 5-4, number 1 in WAR.
Cy Young contender.
Yeah, he was a legitimate Cy Young candidate early on. I know people were saying pump the brakes, but if he started that way this year, right after 11 starts, he's probably going to be 11 or 12. What would you be saying? Ivan Nova eats innings. He's going to stay healthy, right? Spencer Turnbull started really well a year ago, faded a little bit overall, but he started really well a year ago. Michael Fulmer, as I mentioned, gives some depth to that possible bullpen unless they want to move Daniel Norris there. There's a lot of things that can be done there. I think CJ Crone and Jonathan Scope are going to add some legitimate pop to the middle of that lineup, and that's huge. And that's going to help Miguel Cabrera as well. So I'm just excited about it. I think the team is excited about it. I know how Vegas and other people feel, and I understand that. Okay, I mean, you've got to show people something in order for them to believe in you. However, the beauty is that everybody on this team seems to believe in the other, and that's really important, right? They like one another. They've worked hard during this 3.5-month layoff, and guys, it shows in their physiques and it shows in their throwing. I love watching the bullpen sessions with Dan Petrie, and he's pointing out all these different things that these guys are so much further ahead he would have thought than originally when they came back. So those are all really good telling signs.
Dave?
Shep, what's your stance on, so assuming that baseball, which I think of all the sports has the best chance to get through an entire season, the social distancing is just works well with baseball. We've seen it if you've seen any of the Korean baseball that they show on ESPN at 5 o'clock in the morning. So I think it really works the best.
Yeah.
Assuming that they get
Plus
through the 60-game season.
It's outdoors.
True,
that helps, right? Yeah.
For most of the stadiums,
Yeah.
So let's say that they get through the 60 games and everything works well, and we have a champion.
Mm-hmm.
What do you say to the people that say, well, we got to put an asterisk on the season, we have to put an asterisk on any of the records that may be broken? What do you say to those people? Is that negative? Is that just part of it?
Yeah.
What do you say to those people?
I guess I would say to them, everybody played the 60 games. Okay, so it's not like you're playing. I had this argument. I've done this argument a little bit in basketball, for example, when Shaquille O'Neal came out and said there's an asterisk next to the champion that's coming up, and I said, was there an asterisk next to San Antonio when they beat the Knicks? Was there an asterisk next to Miami when they beat Dallas? Those weren't 82-game slates. Okay, this is a very unique situation. Everybody's under the same circumstance for the most part because it's 60 games. The schedule's a little different. I get it. But I would tell people that because everybody's playing the same number of games, because everybody's had to deal with the same situation, you've got guys who could opt out, guys who decided to stay in, guys who may have been susceptible to the COVID virus that has forced them out. People are dealing with a lot of different stuff going on, all right? It's a quick sprint. It's funny how everybody says, oh man, baseball plays too many games. I wish they would shorten the season. Now they get a shortened season. Everybody's saying, oh my gosh, this is going to be a joke. Same thing about preseason in the NFL, right? Oh my God, we don't need preseason games. It's an absolute farce. Suddenly they're down to 2, maybe none. Everyone's like, how are they going to play? What's going on here? It's really important to people who play those NFL preseason games. It's really important for baseball to get this training as they get ready for that 60-game sprint. I would just tell people, hey, listen, man, you got bigger things to worry about. Enjoy the 60-game ride, see how it plays out, and hopefully your team's got an opportunity to make it rather exciting in October for you.
Yeah, and there's going to be so many teams that would not have had a chance in a shortened 60-game year. And Matt, a lot of people, and I know they're obviously tweeting and asking you the same thing, but everyone seems really, really excited, obviously, as they should be about the Mises and the Mannings and the youngsters. And what do you think in this 60-game sprint to the finish, which is unlike any other year in baseball history, that we could see guys like Mize and Manning that we probably might not have seen till next year or could have seen at some point this year, that we might see them a lot more than we would have?
Yeah, I think you would have seen Casey Mize and maybe Tarek Skubal in August, maybe even before then, if the season were at that 162 game and we didn't go through this pandemic. I don't know, Dan, to be honest with you, I don't see the point in using up a year of service for a guy who might make a handful of starts in a season like this. Now, this is just my opinion. I'm not saying it's right. Maybe Alavila has a different idea. But when you've got a legitimate 6-man rotation, right? I mean, let's look at it. Spencer Turnbull's definitely going to pitch for you, right? Matthew Boyd is probably your opening day starter. Daniel Norris, even though it was just 3 innings in each of his final 9 starts, he was effective a year ago. You signed Ivan Nova for a reason so he can eat up
Yep.
some innings, right? And then you got Jordan Zimmerman, the final year of his contract. You're paying him. Why not play him? Let's see what he does for you. You've got 5 starters there in addition to a possible Michael Fulmer, who's going to be back in July anyway, right? So now he's out there. He's ready to go. There you go. You got 6 guys who could actually start games for you. One of those guys, maybe 2, will go to the bullpen. Why would you, knowing that you're going to get a limited amount of innings out of Casey Mize or Matt Manning anyway, why would you burn that 1 year of service time for them and worry about it at the back end, knowing that you would, in an ideal situation, like most of those guys to come up together? Now, we know that Spencer Torkelson and Riley Green and Parker Meadows and maybe an Isaac Paredes or a Dylan Dingler, a Daniel Cabrera, they probably won't be up with your team next year. I think Mize, Manning, Skubal could be up next year at some point. But in 2 years, you're probably going to see the strength of this system's positional players. You'll get them ready. Get those pitchers up there next year. Give them that taxi squad to be down in Toledo a little bit. If you need them in an emergency, I suppose they're there, even though I think you've got other options. I think what you're giving them right now is an opportunity to pitch at Comerica Park during some inter-squad games. You're giving them around guys like Matthew Boyd to give them and pick their brains. A guy like Hector Santiago, another guy who could spot start for you. And that's where they're going to have to learn. You're going to have the expanded fall ball season. They'll be back in Lakeland quickly next year. You'll have more of an opportunity to get them on your squad next year and pitch at the back end of your rotation.
Now, you said that, and you answered everything I wanted to ask you. Before we get to this Damn Leach 101 starring Matt Shepard, just to the Tigers fans, we obviously have a lot watching right now that we know this season, and Dave brings up a fair point about should there be an asterisk, and it's obviously a year like unlike any other. The Masters are traditional like any other, 2020 a year like any other. Yeah. But when you look at going forward, you kind of just laid out a lot of stuff. What do you say to the Tigers fan that we know obviously has gone through this dearth of non-success the last few years after a decade basically of success? You just mentioned a lot of the guys that could be big parts of this. What do you say to the Tigers fan that still maybe is not buying into this rebuild?
Well, look, this is what I tell people all the time. Al Avila, what he inherited, he didn't have to just rebuild a Major League Baseball team. He had to rebuild two single A, a double A, and a triple A, as well as a Major League Baseball team. That's how barren that the farm system has been. I think what I would tell Tigers fans is this: you're going to love Riley Green. I think you're going to love Spencer Torkelson. I think eventually when we see Parker Meadows, you're going to love his athleticism and his speed. I think you're going to absolutely love Casey Mize, Matt Manning, Tarek Skubal. I hope Alex Faedo is a guy at the back end of your rotation who I think can deliver something. Joey Wentz. Let's not forget about Franklin Perez.
Absolutely.
Spencer Turnbull's still a young guy, believe it or not. We don't talk much about him or a Tyler Alexander, who's a very effective left-handed guy who you could see either as a spot starter or out of the bullpen. I don't think there's any question the pitching is there. I think Isaac Paredes is a guy who can flat out hit, all right? And Ron Gardenhire told us this morning he could play second or short, depending on what you want to do. They got guys in this last draft, fellas, guys who can flat out play. I was looking at Baseball America going into the college season where they had some of these players ranked. I think Detroit had 4 of the top 57 guys with Gage Workman, the third baseman out of Arizona State, Spencer Torkelson, obviously one of those guys, Dylan Dingler, Daniel Cabrera, who happens to be outside of Torkelson, my favorite pick in the draft. And you go back to last year and you see some guys like Bryant Packard who can flat out hit. He's out of East Carolina. Alan Trammell really liked Ryan Kreidler. He's the shortstop out of UCLA. They've got some athletes, all right? Now, I'm not saying all of them are going to make it. They're not going to all be, Robin Yount and Paul Molitor and Lou Whitaker and Alan Trammell, but they've got some guys who can push other guys. They've got some depth within their organization that we haven't seen in a long, long time. I talked with Jim Callis of MLB Pipeline, and he said, since he's been working for that publication and doing stuff for MLB Network as well, the Tigers have never been but once in the top 10. Now they're ranked 5th in farm systems. That's what Al Avila and David Chad have had to try and rebuild. It's not just the Tigers, it's the entire system, and they've done a really good job of it so far, I think.
You got to be fired up for baseball, Matt. Let's go, Tigers.
Oh, man.
So
come on,
how
bring it
much
on.
should I put on 750 to 1? I think $100 wins me 75 grand. So I'm in. Dave, you want to split it?
Well, wait a minute. That's to win the World Series? Is that what you're saying, Dano?
750 to 1 to win
man.
the World Series.
Who's the biggest odds to win any championship in any of the 4 major sports and actually coming through? Who would that have been?
Ever?
Ever.
That's a great. Well, the Miracle on Ice. That was, where did Dave go? He's lost Dave. The Miracle on Ice would be one of them. You would think, but that's
one of the biggest upsets. But we said 4 majors, so I'm not counting Olympics. I mean, how many people thought the 2014 Pistons, or I mean 2004 Pistons would have done what they did? Now they ended up winning 56 games or something like that. But that was one of the bigger upsets, I would guess, getting there. I don't know what it is. This would probably be among the biggest upsets of all time, if possible.
Oh, for sure. I'm trying. You know what? We'll get some comments from people watching because I'm trying to think too, man. The Ravens were, they were they were like 30 to 1, though. I remember Phil Mickelson had a famous bet on them. That was pretty big, 30 to 1 in the NFL. Okay. I'm trying to think because normally in baseball, Matt, especially during the era of the Yankees spending tons of money and obviously, teams like the Giants winning and the Red Sox, there were no big upsets. But right. I mean, maybe the Kings in hockey, the LA Kings when they were an 8 seed, even though they had Jonathan Quick.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't win their division, right? I mean, you look at wild card teams, the Packers, for example, when Aaron Rodgers led them, they were a wild card and won a championship. Pittsburgh won it as a wild card as too, but I doubt
the Broncos for a Super Bowl too. Wild card.
But I don't think any of those guys, Dave, were 750 to 1.
750 to 1. Never. All right.
What about the Cardinals? The Cardinals that one year, the Cardinals baseball team that one year. I remember some guy won huge money on betting in
2006 when they beat the Tigers. Well, I don't know what it was like prior to the season, Dave. They were the underdog throughout. I think they were the underdog throughout. Yeah. What did they win? 84, 88 games?
I just remember games? Some guy won some big money at betting on
Marlins. The Marlins might have bet.
That's a good one from Jason. Very good one.
From Jason Brown. Yeah. All right. Let's get right into that Dan Leach one-on-one starting Matt Shepard, but let me take a quick moment here to talk about our good friends at Michigan's Finest Cannabis Company. They are opening. It's happening July 10th. And people, as I've said on the show, they'll say, well, Leach, you're 9 years sober. You talk about sobriety all the time, which, of course, I do. And I've had a lot of great messages over the last several weeks. We're going to do a task force recovery show coming up soon. But I've had Darren McCarty on. I've had people talk about how that, obviously drugs and alcoholism is a brutal thing right now. Cannabis, CBD, it can help people get off of that. And it's really helped people beat alcoholism, get off of opiates. That's what the mission statement by my guys at Michigan's Finest is all about. So check them out, and they've got a special promo code for you. We'll have a little fun with this, DTM420. So if you tell them DTM420 and you go on the website, which is listed on the Task Force webpage or Facebook page, and use promo code DTM420, you get 10% off any purchase online or in the store. So check out our good friends at the great Michigan's Finest Cannabis Company. They are in Wayne, Michigan. Can you believe it's legal, Matt? It's finally legal in this.
Well, I know it helps people with arthritis, and it helps people with a lot of pain as well. So as long as it's legal and people are taking it as they should, I'm all for it, having people live healthier lives.
Yep, and it's had a lot of one of my friends their mission statements are to get people off opiates, which we know is a terrible thing, and a lot of people have been able to do that with CBD. All right, Matt, are you ready for a Dan Leach one-on-one starring Matt Shepard, brought to you by Dave Rieger? He spent hours.
What do you mean hours? What do you mean one-on-one? What the hell have we been doing, man? It's been one-on-one for the entire time. What are you talking about?
Hours.
These are special, very special questions. All right, here we go. Dave, I have no idea what these questions are. Matt obviously will answer first, and I will. But here we go. It's a DTM 101 starring Matt Shepard. And Dave Rieger, question 1.
Sorry about earlier. My AirPods went out, so I had to leave and come back.
Yeah, what the hell, man?
So let's hope they stay intact here. So based off of the successful space launch that we had recently, a Kickstarter campaign is raising money right now to manufacture a perfume called Eau de Space. And as of Sunday, they've raised over $307,000 toward this Kickstarter campaign, Matt. talking to some astronauts, they say that the odor of space is like gunpowder from a shooting range, or smells like a burnt cookie. So my question to you, Matt, is: would this be something you'd want to invest in? The campaign closes on August 17th.
No. As I stated earlier, I am very frugal. I am very conservative in with my money. I would probably not invest in something like that. If I'm not going to wear it, if I don't think it's something that would smell good on me, and my wife says it wouldn't, I doubt I would invest in it. So the answer to that would be no, Dave. Respectfully, no, by the way.
Matt, I respect that. You might be frugal, but at least you have money. I don't have any, so I'm not investing in it either. Question 2.
And then you're a big space fan, Dan, so I'm kind of surprised.
I love space, but there's no money to invest.
All right, so Matt and Dan, and I want to welcome you to Survival Condo. This former Atlas missile silo has been turned into a luxury condominium complex that offers the world's rich and powerful a chance to buy the ultimate in life insurance. And that is this facility that's 200 feet underground in Kansas.
Wow.
It was built during the Civil War.
Okay.
It has 9-foot thick reinforced concrete walls designed to survive everything from a tornado to a 12 kiloton nuclear warhead dropping just a half a mile away. Now, you're going to have some money to do this. You just said you were very frugal. So the starting cost for a unit for this complex is $1 million.
That's a deal.
Plus an extra $2,500 a month to cover your living expenses, electricity, water, such. So, Matt, if you did have the money, and if you were not frugal, would you want one of these for any type of apocalypse in the future?
No, I would not. I have too many bills to pay. I have too many loans for my kids' college to pay off. I can find better things to do with my money than selfishly put myself in a hole in Kansas. How about buying a place up north in northern Michigan? I'd absolutely love to go to Harbor Springs and buy a house there if I had that kind of money. So I'll decline that chance too, Dave, if that's all right with you.
Speaking of that, I think he might – I know he's on vacation. I think he might be up north. But Stoney weighing in with Jamie and Brady and Shep. Hello to the Stone Squatch.
You know, I get that a lot. And I used to look at that and go, God, can't it? Now I embrace it. I love it. I think it's great that people – look, we all know that recently WDFN left, and it's no longer the all sports station. And when we had thoughts of that, right? We had feelings for that. Stoney was there. He was one of the main faces. That show was one of the more enjoyable shows I've ever worked on in my life. I love those guys, and I loved being part of that whole crew. That was a special time for me.
You guys were a big part of someone like me that looked up to all you guys to get involved in our business. So I know it's over and DFN is no longer, but that legacy, man, in this city will live forever. By the way, good comment by Saul Rosenberg, the 2019 Blues. They were last place to Cup champions. They fired their coach in, I think, November or December. Yeah. They might have been 50 or 60 or 70 to 1. So that's a good one. For me, by the way, I don't have $1 million. So if I did have $1 million, I would probably not spend it on the whole. But if I did, I'd want to be able to bet on horses and be able to do a lot of other things. So I think it'd be kind of cool. I think it'd be kind of cool to have one of those things down there. But I think, like you mentioned, Matt, not in a hole in Kansas. I'd rather, like you said, go up north, go to Hawaii, go to Costa Rica.
Amen.
Dave, question 3.
You know, I do have to say real quick that there was nothing better than going and talking to Shep in the update room about some Denver Broncos topic that I wanted to talk to him about and having him slam the door in my face every single time.
You mean like this? You mean like that? You go away again?
Get out of my update booth. I don't need to talk to you about that.
Dave, Gary Kubiak really is better than most people give him credit for, Shep. You know that, right? No, I don't, Dave. Goodbye.
Before question 3, Stoney's got another one. When does Shadow Stevens do anything with you, Shep?
When does Shadow Stevens, Stoney's got to help me with that. Everybody I worked with over there has a much better memory of that stuff than I do. Jamie has a better memory. Jeff Lesson has a better memory. Stoney must have a better memory. I'm not sure what he's referring to with Shadow Stevens. But
well, we don't know what Stoney's referring to half the time anyway, but at least it sounded like it was fun.
Point well taken.
But we love the Stone Squatch. Dave, question 3.
All right, so South Koreans have been waiting 16 long years for a savory, crispy bite of that would satisfy their taste buds and right an infamous wrong.
Okay.
This week, they finally could fill a bowl with the cereal they wanted all along. Are you ready for this? Green onion flavored Chex.
What?
So apparently back in 2004, the company had a public vote for a new product, chocolate flavored Chex or green onion flavored Chex. Green onion flavored Chex apparently won by a landslide, but there was voter fraud. So they gave it to chocolate flavored Chex.
Okay.
Now the green
Too many
onion
mail-in
flavored
ballots, Dave. Too many mail-in
exactly.
ballots.
Exactly. So now the green onion Chex have arrived. How excited are you for this new flavor, Shep, of green onion flavored Chex?
Minimal. Wouldn't touch it at all. I have I am a creature of habit when it comes to my food. Ask my wife. I pretty much like the same stuff all the time. I am not adventurous with my beer drinking, and I'm not adventurous with my food. That would never touch my lips.
That sounds absolutely disgusting. I cannot believe that. I know there was voter fraud, but there's no world where green onion. Come on. Now, I do have a box of chocolate Lucky Charms up there. Those are great, but not
sugary.
green.
Dano, too sugary.
So good for a late night 5 a.m. snack.
That's why you don't sleep, my friend.
Pretty much. Question 4, Dave.
I think that Shep will respect this next story. So a man in Maine paid off a parking ticket that was nearly 42 years after it was issued.
Good for him.
Gary Urgonski mailed a letter, the ticket from July 28, 1978, a $4 check, $3 for the fine, and a $1 late fee to the York Police Department. All right. The letter that the letter read, "I hope I can now safely travel through the state of Maine without always looking in my rear view mirror." The police called him to inform him that they received the check. They have no plans to cash the check, but they will frame it and mount it on a wall in the department.
That's awesome.
So my question is, what's the longest you've ever gone without paying a ticket, Shep and Dan?
I got one.
Boy, for me, it's I try to pay him as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
I'm one of those guys who pays it as soon as possible, so I get like $10 or $15 or $20 off. Right. I fought a ticket before. I don't think that counts, Dave. I would say the longest I ever waited was no more than 7 to 10 days.
Yeah, my guess was you, because you seem like you're the kind of guy on top of everything like that.
Sure.
I'm the opposite. I've gotten better. I haven't gotten a ticket, either parking or speeding or otherwise, in a while, knock on wood, because I'm driving safe these days. But back in my college years, going to Camp Tanuga in the summers, Matt and Dave, in Kalkaska, Michigan, where the motto is go for vacation, leave on probation, I had not paid a speeding ticket back when I used to go to the casino in Windsor, and I got like some 5 over or 10 over on the lodge, which is dumb.
5 over? Nobody pulls you over for 5 over on the lodge, Dan.
All right, fine. It was probably 15.
Come on. That is BS.
I'm trying to make myself sound a little better. But so I forgot to pay it. It was probably 8 months, and I'm up in Kalkaska, and I go. Now, this is the truth, though. I did go only 5 over downtown in Kalkaska. They pulled me over and they arrested me for a suspended license, which I really didn't know I had. But I sat in the Kalkaska County Jail, which is like a little drunk take, for like 7 hours. They bailed me out. It sucked. But that's why I'm not going to ever not pay a ticket again. And I just updated. It was the coolest thing ever. I updated my license tag or my plate tab and one of those self-service things at Meijer. It took 2 minutes.
Wow,
Coolest thing ever.
That is fantastic.
Yeah,
I didn't know you could do that.
No, it's awesome. No wait. It costs like $6 more. Love it. All right, Dave, let's hit out of the park as we always do with question 5. Matt, so far you're getting an A+.
Thanks.
So the U.S. Air Force Academy welcomed the new mascot into its ranks and will break the tradition by allowing cadets to name the Falcon. The Falcon chick was hatched in May.
Okay.
Some name suggestions that have come in so far on Twitter include Athena, Blue, Soar, and Falcon McFalcon Face.
What?
So the previous Falcon.
Why are they using Twitter? Why are they using Twitter to do this?
These are just some things that have come. Some names that have come in. The previous Falcon, Aurora, died in October after serving 23 years as the Academy's live mascot.
Phenomenal.
So the question is for you guys: what is the new Falcon's name going to be?
Do I have to pick one of those?
No, something. This is anything goes, Shep.
I would like to have it associated with our country, being that the Air Force Academy is full of brave men and women who serve this great nation. So something along the lines of pride would be good for me. Pride or honor. It's not like the bird's not going to come back. It's not like the falcon is going to be upset at the name. Put something like that in association with it, and I'd be fine with it.
Matt, that's great. And for me, I'm going to tell a cheesy story, but I went to boarding school. I struggled. I had a lot of problems at first, and then I ended up really finishing strongly. And they named this award after me, called the Phoenix Award.
Nice.
The Louvre, they have the Winged Victory and the Nike in Paris. And I would name it Phoenix because I rose from the ashes. So how about Phoenix?
I'll buy that for sure. Go ahead.
All right.
It's better than Falcon McFly or whatever they had.
Falcon McFalcon face. It
was Falcon McFalcon face.
Incredible.
Matt, great job. That's a DTM 101 starting Matt Shepard. Matt, a couple more things before we let you go. And thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Anytime,
and you can see so many people are so excited, Matt, to see you and hear you and watch you. And you mentioned while they're growing or doing the chores or just chilling on the deck, whatever it is. I can't wait either, Matt. It's going to be very exciting to see this condensed season. But I want to talk to you about this guy, as obviously the Tigers got their man. I've got some highlights here. What am I, Bernie? We got highlights. This kid is just absurd. Yeah. I know he's only 18. I know, or is it 19 now? I know he's young.
He's actually 20. Yeah, he's 20.
That's right, 20. I know he's a young kid. I know it's not going to happen right away. But what do you – and I know, like you said earlier, Matt, prospects are a dime a dozen, but very few are Spencer Torkelson. How good could this big kid be? You see people say, and I've seen this not just in one place, but in multiple places, that it's one of the best prospects ever in the modern era. Where are you at with Tork?
Well, all we can go by is what we've seen and what the scouts are telling us, right? So he told a story. Matthew Boyd told a story today. Matthew Boyd's an Oregon State guy, and so Pac-12. He said when he talked to his coaches there at Washington State, or Oregon State rather, that Torkelson reminded them of Michael Conforto, another Oregon State Beaver, and that's a hell of a compliment. I don't know how good he can be. Here's what I do know. Alan Trammell, really impressed with him. Scott Pleiss, who's the director of scouting for the Tigers, obviously very impressed too. And some of the stories that they tell, and it's not always about how far a guy hits a ball, right? First of all, really good leader. Second of all, really good clubhouse guy. Third of all, loves to work. So those are all really important characteristics and traits you want to have in a guy you're going to build your organization around. But they described when they saw him in a specific game, they saw him get 4 at-bats. Each at-bat, he went to 3 balls in each of those at-bats. In other words, here's a guy who's not afraid to let that count go deep. And on one of the at-bats, on a 3-1 or a 3-2 pitch, he hits a 3-2 slider. I mean, who's looking for a slider on 3-2? Right center field over the wall. Okay, most people would be trying to pull something like that. He doesn't do that. So I think his character, he comes from a really good family. His mom is actually the CFO of Guy Fieri. His character, his work ethic. Okay, he told us during this pandemic, he's been going to a gym with one of his good friends because his dad owns the gym. He's been hitting in the batting cage in his backyard. It's every single day. He loves the game of baseball, loves the sport of hockey. He's got a little attitude there because he played hockey till he was about 12 years old. So that should appease him to a lot of Detroiters. But the talent is off the charts, fellas. I'm telling you, this guy and Riley Green are going to be the focal point for Tiger fans for a long time to come. This dude, no pun intended, is a home run pick for Detroit.
No, and that's the thing where it's like, you see guys that go in the top 3 or 4 sometimes, and some of them flame out. But this guy just seems consensusly by so many that have been doing this for such a long time that we never know. Nothing's a sure thing.
Right.
But we knew LeBron was going to be LeBron. We knew Kobe was pretty sick. We knew that, some of these guys that have been the next were going to be as good as advertised. This is what he seems like to me.
Yeah, I get that same sense. I hesitate sometimes with baseball because it's a lot different. You're trying to project things just like you are in just about every sport. But baseball, the pool is so vast. So the big debate was it Spencer Torkelson or was it Austin Martin, the shortstop, third base, center field prospect from Vanderbilt, outstanding hitter, taken by Toronto 5th overall. It shows you, and Scott Pleiss said this, he thought Torkelson separated himself as much as Casey Mize separated himself a couple of years ago when they made him the first overall pick. There really wasn't much question for the Tigers. And anybody who has seen him play, anybody who has talked to him, and anybody who's done a background check understands just how special this kid is.
Question from Jason Shep. He wants to know if you think that Torque will stay at third base or is going to move back to first when Miggy is done, which is not going to be for a while.
Well, Miggy's not going to play first anyway. Okay. And I think what you can do is you can find free agent first baseman a little bit easier than you can third baseman. I've got no problem with the Tigers trying him because he's athletic, number one. Number two, he's played there before. It's a corner position. I get why they're trying to do this. Where does he end up? I don't know. A lot may depend on what else they've got coming up through the pipeline. I think the beauty is that he can play either corner position, and that's a really good luxury to have.
That definitely is. I love this. Mo Torque City. I'm sure there's going to be any nicknames that are coming to your mind yet about Torque?
No, I don't think about those things just yet.
Yeah, they come naturally, right?
Yeah, I hope they come natural, but I know a lot of people. Look, anytime you got Torque on something, right? I mean, we know it as being car people here in Detroit, even though I'm not a gearhead. If you got Torque, that's a pretty good start if a guy's going to hit home runs, and this guy's got a propensity to hit them.
All right, I got a couple quick rapid-fire ones for you, Matt, that we'll share our exciting house item of the day, but I want to quickly talk about our great new friends at Amwager.com. This is obviously a time where there's not a lot of sports going on. Thank God baseball's back, but horse racing has had a renaissance. I love it. Dave knows this, Matt. They know that I like to play the ponies, and they're just coming on board. We love our good friends at Amwager. It's the best place to bet horses. You can call them out down there. You can also go online at Amwager.com. Give them the promo code TASKFORCE for a special DTM only bonus. Fastest updated odds. It's very inexpensive to bet horses, and it's completely legal. So I want to welcome our great friends at Amwager that are just joining the fray tonight and are going to be a good combination with the task force. So thank you very much to Amwager.com for supporting the task force and in part making it possible. All right, Matt, I got a couple rapid fires here for you. When it comes, I mean, you've been a sports guy your whole life. Who was the first athlete you believed, that you, I guess, I don't want to say fell in love with, but who was your first athletic hero?
That's a good question. It might depend on the sport, right? Because I love George Gervin. When he played for the Spurs, I had that poster. I really liked Jamie Samuelson. Hate me for this, but I liked Steve Garvey an awful lot when he played for the Dodgers. Right? And remember, as a kid, I'm sitting there looking for the Tigers. I'm looking at Tom Verizon. That was not happening for me. I had to wait a little bit. Alan Trammell is obviously my favorite all-time athlete. But I like my dad and I used to have this outstanding conversation or debate all the time when I was a kid. So I used to talk about George Brett, and I talked about Robin Young. I talked about Rod Carew. I talked about, Carlton Fisk and Pete Rose and guys like that. And my dad would look at me and he'd say, you don't know what a good ball player is. And then he'd reel off names like Mays and Mantle and DiMaggio and Williams. So it was really important that I studied all those guys in baseball more than anything else. But it's hard for me to pick the first guy because I liked so many guys growing up. I liked, Al Kaline obviously was one of those, but I also liked a guy like Aurelio Rodriguez in the mid 70s as a really good fielder, right? So it's really hard for me to pick the very first one. I just know my all-time favorite is Alan Trammell.
By the way, this was a great idea by Dave Rieger. He wanted me to play, since the Tigers are going to Cincinnati, he wanted me to play the WKRP in Cincinnati theme as we do this here. So there you go. How about this one, Matt?
Gordon Jump.
When it comes,
right.
Anderson.
That's
when
right.
it comes to the moment in sports that has meant the most in your life as a fan, what would that? Was it the Raiders making the playoffs a couple years ago? The North Farmington Raiders.
No, because then they got pounded. No, I think as a sports fan, it was when the Tigers won the '84 World Series.
Sure.
That meant so much to me and my friends. I mean, we still talk about it to this day. I get really emotional about it because of what that team meant to me and our buddies. When Alan Trammell and Jack Morris made the Hall of Fame, I remember doing a show on air, and I believe so strongly in my heart they were both Hall of Famers. I think Lou Whitaker is too. I think you could make a case for a guy like Mickey Lulch and Bill Freehand, even though I wouldn't, pound the pavement as heavy. But when they made it, I mean, I teared up on camera because of how much it meant to me for Trammell and Morris. And then when the Red Wings won their first Stanley Cup in forever in '97, standing at Joe Louis Arena next to a police officer, seeing people go absolutely ballistic when they won and they beat the Flyers and swept the Flyers. And he and I looked at each other and we were both bawling, what it meant to the city of Detroit and how much it means to people in general. I thought was pretty special. So those are a few moments that meant an awful lot to me.
Beautifully said. That, as you mentioned, that especially the Wings moment in '97 after the decades, because I wasn't alive when Howe and those guys were winning cups.
Yeah.
To see Stevie Y lift it, and I started crying. I mean, I cried during commercials, so don't take that as a variable, but I was very emotional.
Well, you liked it when the Lions drafted Joey Harrington too, but I mean, that didn't move me quite as much.
No, he brought it. I was like, thanks, Dave. Don't let
Hey, how much do you cry when the Lions win the Super Bowl, Dan?
I probably will cry for a couple of years. I mean, it won't stop.
Okay.
Matt, if you could, obviously it's going to be a while until we see concerts again, but it'll happen. If there's only one concert left ever, and you could see a band if they're still alive or broken up or whoever, who would that band be?
So it can't be my son's band, Anti-Ghost, which is great.
Give me Anti-Ghost's tracks. I'll play them on the show.
All you got to do is go to Spotify, go to YouTube. It's great stuff. They're Detroiters, man. You'll love it. So go watch it. Check it out. Anti-Ghost. You'll love the word. There's a song named Sober, Dan. You'll love it. Go to YouTube. When we're done, go to YouTube and check out that video.
100%.
This is probably pretty easy for me because my second favorite band behind the Anti-Ghost is AC/DC, but I've seen them. Okay. Mm-hmm. So Led Zeppelin, if Led Zeppelin got together and I could see Led Zeppelin, that would mean an awful lot to me. Now, there's other bands I'd like to see. I'd like to see Metallica. I haven't seen them, unfortunately. But yeah, Led Zeppelin, getting back together, doing a tour, I'd definitely go to that.
You're a man after my heart.
How about you?
For me, it's Floyd, original lineup
okay.
of Floyd. Now, we know, sadly, if you're a Floyd fan, that Richard Wright, the keyboard player, is dead. And Sid Barrett's been dead for a long time.
Well, John Bonham's dead, too, for Led Zeppelin. They could just go to his son. For you, the biggest dilemma for you, right, would be the internal strife that is taking place between Roger Glover,
Waters, and David Gilmour. And I've been lucky.
David Gilmour and Roger Waters.
Yeah, I've been lucky to see Gilmour in Chicago.
He's really good.
Yeah. He's incredible live.
Yeah. His solo album is really good, man. It really is.
Good.
So good.
And I've seen Waters 6 times, and I saw The Wall twice, and I saw him do Dark Side. I saw him do a lot of the Floyd stuff. But when they talk about crying, when they played Live Aid, remember that Bob Geldof kind of revisited from Live Aid? When they started playing the chords for Come To Numb, I started crying. And for Zeppelin, they did that, what was it called? That Millennium, that Remembrance Day thing, where they came back for that one show with Jason Bonham. If you remember that in London.
I don't remember that. Okay, but it was just one show though. It wasn't a tour.
Yes, I got it. Yes, one show. I got a YouTube for you after that. Check that out. I think it was called Remembrance Day. And Jason Bonham was incredible.
Okay.
There was 1 million ticket requests for that show. 1 million. And I think they played at the O2 Arena in London, so there was like maybe 15,000 there. They had 1 million requests.
See, I'm going to tell you, Dan, my era had the best music by far. Okay, so when I was a kid, late 70s throughohout the 80s,
yes,
by far. And what I do is I show my kids this all the time. I'll put up a video of AC/DC because it's, like I said, it's one of my favorite bands. Not a bad song they've ever had.
No.
But you put that out there and you'll see them play a concert that is packed, even outdoors, where there's people as far as you can see. And I'll say to my kids, anybody you listen to can draw that type of audience. That's not happening. That's how you know. I mean, people, we live for that stuff, right? We love and we are always true to the people we grew up listening to. I just hope people don't lose their sense of rock and roll because I love it. All right, what about Dave? Who's Dave going to see?
Dave.
Yours is Pink Floyd. Mine's Led Zeppelin. Who's yours, Dave? Johnny Cash?
To say that Johnny Cash is good. I have to say, I have seen Aerosmith a lot, and I do enjoy Aerosmith very much. But if there was a band that I would like to see from back in the day that you kind of see sort of now, it would be Queen. Actually,
Oh, okay, that's a
kind
good
of
one.
like I kind of like Queen's music.
Dave,
I
have
really,
you ever?
it's really pretty good.
Okay.
Reeves,
yeah.
have I ever told you about the Queen performance at Live Aid? If you have not seen that, you need to go watch that after the show.
Oh yeah.
They showed that in the movie, in Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah,
That was wrapped around the movie.
They were really good live, from what I understand. I never saw it. Brian May's a really underrated, I think, guitarist, but they don't have the same sound with Paul Rogers, right, as the lead singer now.
But Adam Lambert has joined them.
Adam Lambert,
Adam Lambert. By the way, this is a great one from a Facebook user, Jimi Hendrix. I mean, obviously he's on live.
Yeah, well,
he's my god.
Just to watch the guitar solo would be worth it for Jimi Hendrix.
I just remembered the DFN days, and Matt Shepard just loved him some Motley Crue also.
Oh, absolutely. Come on.
Yes.
Kickstart my heart. If that doesn't get you fired up to run faster on the treadmill, Dave, I don't know what will.
Yeah, and loved him some Motley Crue.
Yeah.
Dave, I've got one more rapid fire.
Home Sweet Home, great song.
Home Sweet.
Yeah, but I'm not working out to that though. That's the problem. I'm working out.
Dr. Feelgood.
Dr. Feelgood's not bad either. Yeah, I don't mind that, but I'm working out to a lot of AC/DC, some of that, but Metallica with some of the Atlas Rise by Metallica is just off the chain for me.
I've seen I saw AC/DC too. Pretty good. All
right, Dave, I've got one more for Matt. But by the way, I got so excited because Matt's answers are so great. I was supposed to call this "Swinging for the Fences" with Shep. So I'm sorry about that. Dave, do you have one for Matt before I give him the last one?
I would have to say, Matt, all-time favorite athlete that you have actually covered.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, that's a good one. As a player?
As a player.
Well, Barry Sanders is up there.
That's what my answer would be.
Nick Lidstrom would be up there.
Sure.
Because I think he's perhaps the best leader I've ever covered in Detroit. I'm a huge Grant Hill fan. Always have been. Always will be. I think he's the epitome of class. And I'll tell you, if you want to go outside the box a little bit and do some current athletes right now, I love watching Mike Trout play. Had the opportunity to talk to him. Had a chance to talk with Bryce Harper a year ago. Really good dude. So there's quite a few answers for you, Dave, but it'll give you something to chew on a little bit.
I wanted to ask all-time favorite Bronco, but then Leach takes me off the screen. So
yeah, that's what happens now. He just goes away. He knows that, Matt.
Yeah. So who would that be? Carl Mecklenburg? Was that what it'd be for you?
Good one.
Elway. It's got to be Elway.
Elway.
What about Steve Atwater?
Atwater was fantastic.
What about Terrell Davis?
Funny story. So here's a great story about Steve Atwater. So I work with the Lions radio network. The Lions played in Denver this past season, and the executive producer of the broadcast out in Denver got me Steve Atwater's autograph, which is really not a no-no, as you know, on one of the media notes that they give before the game. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, pretty cool.
All right, Bobby Humphrey, thank you very much.
All right, Shep, last one for you was Swinging for the Fences with Shep. If you could meet anyone, alive or dead, that is you've never met before, who would it be? Dave always goes Steve Jobs. It's a great one. I go Lincoln or JFK.
100%.
Could be anybody you want it to be, Shep. Sports, politician, Socrates. I know it's Socrates. Socrates. Bill and Ted's 2 coming out soon, by the way. Or 3.
Yeah, well, some people would roll their eyes maybe a little bit, but Jesus Christ, that's who I'd want to meet.
I can't say anything wrong with that at all. Yeah. All right, Matt. Can't thank you enough for being on with us. We
guys love you, man. Keep up the great work. Hope to see you soon, and love to see you at the ballpark. And maybe that'll happen sometime real soon. All right.
Yep. Shep, before we go, we always try to share an interesting house idea. Have anything you can share with us from the back cool studio you got there?
Well, this is my office. It's not the studio. Anything cool?
It looks studio-ish to me.
This isn't as cool as my basement where I've got what I did when my boys all graduated high school, I made this mural of them from the various sports that they played. And it's a picture. It has to be a picture of the family of them at their graduation and the various sports that they played. So my oldest played, all throughout high school, hockey, baseball, and football. So there's different pictures of him up there. Same thing with my middle boy, who's now the singer of Anti-Ghost with lacrosse. and football. And then my youngest boy, who played college lacrosse, but he played lacrosse, a little bit of football, but primarily lacrosse and hockey. So we got all that up there. And then, Michigan was kind enough to give me a Michigan Shepard jersey when I left there and became the Tigers play-by-play voice. Eastern Michigan gave me a football signed from a bowl game for all the years I've been doing that sport games for them. And then soon, I'm really hoping it comes sooner than later, will be my son's college jersey that I will probably display in the basement, and I can't wait for that to happen. So that would be some of the favorite little anecdotes we have down there. Other than that, I still have the 1984 poster from the Free Press of Kirk Gibson that was famously shot. Love that, and hopefully one day, I'm not big into autographs, but hopefully one day maybe Gibby would sign that for me.
Oh, he'll sign it. He better. By the way, tell your son I'm going to play some Anti-Ghost on this show very soon. I mean it.
I hope you do. I think you'll get hooked. I think you'll like the music. It's alternative rock. Give it a shout. And I tell you what, when they come back to start playing in Detroit, some of the smaller shows and stuff, I'm going to call you and we're going to go. Okay.
100% in. All right. Dave is very excited. His item, I think, man, he really was excited to show this to you. So and the masses. What do you got?
I was looking in a box for an old DFN T-shirt or something.
Glenn Hagee?
Did
Glenn Hagee sign it for you?
Obviously, I have a lot of Glenn Hagee stuff still, but I found this by accident, and I don't know where it came from, and I don't know why I have it. And it's a paper date from the Detroit Free Press dated Sunday, September 29th, 1968. It's a World Series special preview for the Tigers.
Whoa, where did you find that?
I'm jealous.
I found it in a box. It might have been my mom's. I have no idea.
That's phenomenal.
But it's a whole section dedicated to the World Series preview of the Tigers, and you see the little cardinal up above.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, that's fantastic.
That's sick. Well, I stuck with the Tigers theme, and I just wanted to show this, Matt. If you remember last year, they gave these cards out. This tells you how crazy sports are.
Yeah,
they gave these cards out after Castellanos had been traded and after Shane Green had been traded. So I think these are worth something. I think they're worth something for us.
You get a Joey Wentz card and you call it even.
Yes, Matt, before we go, parting shots from you, and I can't thank you enough. You're just a guy that so many of us, and obviously especially myself, look up to. You're the consummate professional. Nothing but success for you going forward. What do you want to say to the people on the way out?
I just want them to be safe, and I can't wait to see them at the ballpark sometime soon. In the meantime, we hope that they give us a chance to watch us on Fox Sports Detroit and enjoy some baseball, and we'll do everything we can for about a 3-hour period of time to make sure you're enjoying your night, knowing that you got to go out there and face some of the challenges that await you out there in the world today.
Beautiful. Dave Rieger? Oh, Dave, we lost Dave again. Matt, you said it beautifully. And I just want to thank you again. And I can't wait to hear these games and watch these games. And maybe that 750-1 Tigers bet will win some money. We'll go out for drinks, Sprite or Monster for me, and whatever your fine beverages for you.
How about you and I playing a round of golf sometime soon too? Okay?
Yes,
but
please.
We'll do that. Yeah.
Matt, thank you so much for your time. Can't wait to see all the games. You're the best. For Matt Shepard, I'm Dan Leach. Have a great night, everybody. Believe in the dream. Wash your hands. Spread love, not hate. See you next time on the Task Force.